There's something irresistibly hopeful about a book that starts by turning our most basic assumption on its head. The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor doesn't argue that we'll finally feel happy after we achieve success. The big promotion, the perfect partner, the ideal weight. Instead, it suggests the opposite. That happiness itself isn't the reward but the engine. That by nurturing happiness first, we don't just feel better inside, but actually become more creative, resilient, productive, and successful in almost everything we do. At first, it sounds almost too convenient, like wishful thinking dressed up in a TED Talk. But what makes Achor's message resonate is that it's not built on cheerful slogans. It's grounded in years of research from the fields of positive psychology and neuroscience, including his own work at Harvard. And his tone isn't that of a distant scientist or a relentlessly upbeat motivational speaker, but of someone who has watched students and corporate employees wrestle daily with burnout, anxiety, and the constant unspoken belief that happiness must be earned later. Reading the book feels like being guided by someone who's deeply human, candid about the messiness of real life, yet quietly insistent that change is possible. Achor doesn't deny that genetics, life circumstances, and setbacks shape us. But he shows, through studies and stories, that our habits of thought and behavior can shift the baseline of our happiness far more than we might believe. And once that baseline shifts, so does the quality of our work, relationships, and health. One of the book's central ideas is simple but quietly radical. Happiness isn't just a vague feeling of pleasure. It's a specific mental and emotional state characterized by optimism, engagement, and meaning. And this state isn't only pleasant. It measurably improves our performance. Happy employees sell more, happy doctors make better diagnoses, happy students get higher grades. It isn't magic. It's the predictable result of brains primed for openness, creativity, and connection rather than fear and scarcity. Achor describes what he calls the happiness advantage as this upward spiral. Happier brains are more productive, which leads to more successes, which in turn fuel further happiness. This contrasts sharply with the cultural myth of the success happiness formula, which often becomes an endless chase. As soon as we reach one milestone, the goalposts move and happiness remains just out of reach. What makes the book feel alive rather than abstract are the small, concrete habits Achor shares. Habits he's tested in classrooms and boardrooms alike. Things like writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day, journaling about a positive experience, exercising, performing random acts of kindness, or simply meditating for a few minutes. Each is tiny, almost embarrassingly simple. Yet when practiced consistently, they train the brain to scan for the positive, rather than the negative, and slowly change what we notice, what we remember, and even how we interpret setbacks. There's something quietly profound in the idea that happiness isn't found in sweeping life changes or dramatic breakthroughs, but in the daily choice to focus attention differently. And this choice doesn't deny pain or hardship. It simply prevents them from becoming the sole lens through which we see the world. Achor also explores the Tetris Effect, where our brains, trained by habit, begin to notice patterns everywhere. If we constantly scan for problems or threats, that's what we see. But if we practice scanning for moments of humor, gratitude, or connection, our minds gradually become biased toward the good. It's a reminder that while we can't always choose our circumstances, we can often choose what we practice seeing. Another idea that feels strikingly human is the notion of falling up, learning to frame failures and crises not as permanent defeats, but as stepping stones to growth. Achor shares stories of athletes, students, and entrepreneurs who found in adversity not just recovery but reinvention. And again, it's less about forcing false positivity and more about asking, how can I use this? What can I learn? It's resilience, but with compassion rather than stoic denial. Perhaps the most moving part of the book is its underlying faith and connection. Happiness, Achor argues, isn't a solitary achievement. Our social bonds, colleagues, friends, family, aren't distractions from success. They're its foundation. Investing time and kindness into relationships doesn't just feel good. It measurably protects our mental health, buffers us from stress, and improves performance. By the time you close the happiness advantage, what lingers isn't the memory of statistics or studies, but a quieter, more hopeful question. What if happiness isn't something to earn later but something to practice now? And perhaps even more transformative. What if making myself happier isn't selfish at all, but one of the best ways to help those around me succeed too? The genius of the book lies not in presenting some grand new theory of life, but in reframing something we already know intuitively but forget daily. That joy, kindness, and gratitude aren't luxuries for when life slows down. They're tools to navigate life as it is. Unpredictable, sometimes overwhelming, but also full of moments of connection, purpose, and delight if we remember to look. In the end, Achor doesn't promise a life free of hardship. Instead, he offers a practical human roadmap. Small daily choices that, over time, add up to something larger. A mind more open to possibility, a heart more resilient to setbacks, and a life that feels fuller not because every day is perfect but because we've learned to see and create happiness along the way. And in that, perhaps, lies the most meaningful advantage of all.